Da, 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 da. All right, we should be good and live. All right, we are here. What is up, you guys? It's your boy Rob Hollow Avarice. We are back with some chatting goodness. We are not here gaming today. Turn this down just a little bit. You could be in the background. Yeah, there we go. I'm a little under the weather. It is New Year's Eve. The ball is about to drop in a few scant hours. I've been taking the past few days off after my 25 days of games miss. I've been back once or twice. We did some Pokemon DLC. We did the more Star Wars Battlefront. The story mode for that we finished. I plan on coming back in the next few days. I wanted to stream this whole time, but I hit a wall after my 25 days, and I needed a few days to recharge. But today I wanted to take this time to talk about my year in 2023, including a ranking of every single game I played this year. It's not just going to be games that came out this year, it's my year in gaming. So all the games, I played some games that came out in 2018, I played out some games that came out in like 2014 or 2012. I wanted to talk about my highlights, my lowlights, how this year was in the gaming space. I could talk about a bunch of other stuff, but I'm not quite prepared for it. Like, I could talk about TV. We've had a pretty decent year in TV. Movies have been a little this year. There hasn't been anything mind-blowing. I did just watch Maestro, which I loved. But it's really only if you're like a big music. It's a biopic, so it's not like an action movie. It's a very slow whatever. We're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about games and what I did this year, and it's been a good year for gaming. Actually, I'm going to pull up, I kind of want to have in the background, let's do Fontaine music. All right. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So we are going to talk about some good old gaming goodness. Let's hop over to, I have made a tier list of every game that I have played in 2023. It's a pretty long list. We got 46 games this year. Are the big games that I did. Almost all of them were on stream. I think all but one I did on stream. All but two. There's two games that I played off stream. Alright. So, as you can see, it's sort of three. I played three off stream. Alright, and I wanted to talk about these. Alright. Oh, damn. Give me 1 second. I gotta grab one thing, and then we are ready to go. My phone's at 2%. I like to live dangerously. There we go. Oh, that's so much better, knowing it's plugged in. Okay. So let's talk about my year in gaming. I started this year out. There's a bunch of games that came out. If you want to check my YouTube channel, that came out at the beginning of this year that I actually played at the end of last year. I think like Tunic was up there. Trying to remember what else I was playing around that time. Let me turn this on. I can check my... Yeah, it's fine. I guess. But the one I started in December, and it carried over to January. Come on, let's see if I can pull this up. Here we go. All right, last year around this time, I was playing trophies. That's how I remember this. Callisto Protocol, Tunic, The Devil in Me, and Gotham Knights. I finished almost all of them in December. The only one that continued into January was Gotham Knights, which is why it is here on this list. Even though I started it in 2022, I finished it in 2023, so we are going to start by talking about Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights wasn't a very good game. I had some enjoyment in the story. Let me turn this down just a wee bit. Okay. Gotham Knights wasn't very good. It was cool to see a story without Batman, to focus on the Bat family and their dynamics and their interplay. That was good. I like the story that they told of a Gotham without Batman. It was very Battle for the Cowl. And seeing the perspective of Nightwing, Red Hood, Robin, and Batgirl all working together for this greater cause was cool. I enjoyed that. Good. The villains that they chose, Clayface, the League of Assassins, all that, really cool. Doing Court of Owls, and I feel like they did Court of Owls pretty well. It was not perfect. I didn't love what they did with Mr. Freeze, I will say. I thought that was just alright. And I know they came out with DLC for it. I have no desire to go back and do that. Right? Clayface. Yeah. Obviously the big gripe with it was the gameplay. It was not the most well-curated story. In terms of, like... the story was alright. I didn't love that they killed Batman twice in the same game. I feel like that was kind of lazy. The big elephant in the room was the gameplay. All four characters played so similarly. There was no... It wasn't fun to switch between characters. Their movesets were so similar, and it was kind of dull. And the world itself was just fine. It was nowhere near as cool as wandering around Arkham Asylum or Arkham City or Gotham City in Arkham Knight. Those were all incredibly well-developed cities, particularly Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. Amazing and immaculately detailed. This didn't feel fun. It didn't feel like a good designed game. I'm sorry. So Gotham Knights for me is going to be the baseline. Gotham Knights is going to be a D. Next, I played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. Obviously, just a pretty much shot-for-shot remake of Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core with all the new assets from Remake. But it was so cool to re-experience that story. I really liked how they did the system, the DVR or whatever it was called. If I blank on the name of the DMW system was solid. The game was fun. Playing as Zack and re-experiencing all these character stories and getting it in a more updated form was beautiful, and it really helped, for me, build the hype for Rebirth. So Crisis Core. I mean, obviously, all the music was beautiful. The visuals were a lot of fun. I'm gonna put it in B because it's something we've seen before, but it was well executed and well done. Next up, One Piece Odyssey. Those who know me know I am a huge One Piece fan. Nakama. I'm part of the One Piece online community. If you watch One Piece YouTubers, I'm in their comments all the time. Tekking, Grand Line Review, Rogers Base, Murphy, Napier, Jay, King of Lightning. I watch all their channels. I watch their reactions. I got a bunch. I got my Nico Robin, my VV, a bunch of Luffy's, some Zoro, some Nami. And I even got the figure from One Piece Odyssey of Lin and Luffy, because I got the collector's edition of this game. Because I really, really wanted to play that. The story was great. In terms of the story, it was very good. Particularly in the later chapters, like when they started covering Marineford and all the stuff in the outside of the world of memory. The turn-based game, as far as turn-based games go, it was a lot of fun. Setting up the combos, seeing all these great moves recreated. My problem was with the pacing of the game. Alabasta, way too long. Alabasta was way too long. They didn't really touch on Skypiea. I know they did some DLC. Maybe I'll play the DLC because I know they touch on Enel in that. Dressrosa was a little long. And Enies Lobby was definitely too long. The whole Water 7. So the first two arcs of the game just were a little too long, and I feel like that messed with the pacing. The music was good. I like that they kept the Japanese voices because the sub is better in One Piece. So I'm going to give this a B as well. But I'm actually going to put it above Crisis Core. And it's the pacing that drags it down. It's a really good turn-based combat system, and it's really great if you're a One Piece fan. And I particularly love Azio and Lin and their Devil Fruits. They were really cool. All right. Forspoken. I think it's right over here because I always planned on getting back to it. It's a game I've never finished. So I'm putting the asterisk there. This is an unfinished game because I just couldn't. In terms of visuals, the game looked pretty good. In terms of story, the game was fine. I liked that it was very isekai. It was, hey, your character's dragged to another world. The story had flaws, though. I liked the lore, and in terms of the gameplay and the combat, the flow actually felt pretty good. Once I started getting into it and getting used to the magic system of swapping elements and the fast moving, it felt good. It just did not live up to the hype that it built, and the dialogue was bad. The dialogue was bad and immersion breaking. It actually took me out of the game at a lot of points. So I'm going to go ahead. It's not as bad as Gotham Knights. So I'm going to go ahead and put Forspoken in C. For this year, that's where Forspoken is for me. I might go back and finish it. I'll probably do it off stream. I think I did like 2 or 3 streams of it, and I just kind of like, I don't want to go back to it. All right, next, the next big game, Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy, controversial title, obviously, with all the drama going around the creator of the game. The creator of the game's universe, I should say, not the creator. That person had no connection to the design and development of the game. It is just a game set in that person's universe. So we're not going to talk about her and what a terrible person she is. We're just going to talk about the game. Hogwarts Legacy was really well made. It was Harry Potter had some great banger games back in the day. Like, I think 1 through 3 were bangers, and then after that they were train wrecks, and they were just butt. But they also had the Quidditch game, which was fun. But like, flying around on broomsticks was really well done. Flying around on creatures was really real fun. You played Pokemon. I shiny hunted in this game a la Pokemon. and got a shiny Niffler and got a shiny Thestral. That was cool. You can catch animals and raise them in your world, and I set up my world and I built my little my special little worlds for them, which was really cool. Going to the classes, genuinely fun. Like, they made the classes objectively the most boring part, like actually doing duels and using your spells in creative ways. Exploring the grounds was phenomenal. I loved it. Learning all the spells. Getting to wield the unforgivable curses. That's horrendous. I loved the story of the Goblin Rebellion. We knew there was a Goblin Rebellion in the lore. And it was really cool to get to see it. I feel like the villains were fun and interesting. And the thing that shines for me are the side characters. Your professors, great. Professor Garlic, you know. I still see people cosplay as her, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Oh God, why am I blanking on her name? The, Hogwarts Legacy. Rescuing the Phoenix was a lot of fun. Subduing the Graphorn. We got to wield a Deathly Hallow. That was cool. Ranrock was a fun villain. Here you go. Natsai, her story was fine. Sebastian, I was so disappointed in Sebastian and his story. Here is Poppy. Poppy's story was the best story in the game. You broke in and freed dragons from a dragon fighting ring. You returned a dragon egg. You found the Snidgets. Awesome. Really great story. Poppy was the best story, and she's a Hufflepuff. And choosing your houses and doing all that. Hufflepuffs, I tried all 4 stories. Hufflepuffs had by far the best story with going to Azkaban. All of that. Music was great. The puzzles were a lot of fun. In case I haven't made it obvious, I liked this game a lot. It's going in A. It was not the perfect game. It's going in A, though. Next up. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I played this in April and May, right? It came out late April, early May. I liked the world design. It was a good Empire Strikes Back. It was the good middle of a trilogy. The loss of Seer, the loss of Eno, the return and loss of Eno Cordova, the beginning of Cal's relationship with Merrin, the horrid betrayal of, oh God, why am I blanking? Why did I blank on his name? Our buddy with the jetpack. Customize it. I don't remember his name. But it had a lot of great side characters. Doma and all of the people at the rest, and Greasy and building the cantina and getting all the characters and building up the cantina. A lot of fun. The worlds that they had, like Nova Garin, the asteroid, Bose. Was it Bose? Bode. The betrayal by Bode. That was heartbreaking. Kobo's Cantina was a lot of fun. Where was it? The battle against Darth Vader with Seer was brutal and took forever, but I loved. And the other 2 villains, the long fallen Jedi from the High Order, and the man made of slugs with the super regeneration. I'm blanking on their names, but really cool villains. Great side characters, great music, really fun combat. Overall, I'm going to put it in an A as well. Next up, Final Fantasy 16. I did FF16 in June. June and July. Yeah. Late June, early July was Final Fantasy 16. Best boss fights of the year, in my opinion. The two of them were in this. The battle against Titan and the battle against Bahamut. The music in this game, phenomenal. The story in this game, pretty damn good. I loved the getting more and more power. Like incorporating the Phoenix power and Ifrit's power and Shiva and Titan and Garuda, all of that into you, and Ramu. It was cool. It was really cool. My one downside is I love the team-based game, you know, of Final Fantasy. In my opinion, that's one of the best things about the Final Fantasy is swapping and seeing. I get it, it's you swapping powers with the equivalent of that, you with the different power sets. I didn't love that as much. I think that was a flaw. Not being able to play as, like, Joshua or the Prince. Yeah. A lot of the side effects were pretty good. If we could have played as Torgal, the dog, that would have been phenomenal. But, like, I like building up and restoring things, I guess. This is the second time I've mentioned it. Building up and restoring the base, Cid's base, meeting Mid, all of that. The game had a lot of big highlights. The story dragged a little bit. Overall, it was a very enjoyable game, and I feel like it did not get the credit it deserved this year. I'm sad that it underperformed in sales, because I think it's better than... It had flaws, but it's better than it gets credit for. The fantasy world was a little generic in places. I am very excited to play. I am going to be playing it, hopefully in the next week or two, Echoes of the Fallen, the first DLC that came out, which is all about the Fallen, the people who had these giant flying cities. So I am intrigued in checking that out. So let's put... I'm torn between putting it an S or the top of A. For now, I think I'm going to put it an S, because I was obsessed enough with the world. Yeah. This game came out, this was a DLC to a game, came out a few years ago. I just never got around to it. Final Fantasy VII Intermission, which was Yuffie's story. But this was really cool for me, because I got to re-experience the world, re-immerse myself in it, and man, it was fun. Seeing Yuffie, seeing an outsider's perspective, seeing how Yuffie got to this point in Midgar, was really cool. I like how they handled Deep Ground and Nero and Weiss and all of that, and how that's set up for more stuff in future games. That's actually kind of cool. I loved the Fort Condor minigame. I had a lot of fun with that. And Yuffie's playstyle was a lot of fun, and it helped re-hype me, reignite my spark for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is coming out in February. So make sure you tune in for that. Let's put this in A. Nope. Let's put it in low. No, you know what? We're going to put it in right there. We're going to put it right next to Crisis Core. Above Crisis Core, because I feel like the flow of combat was great. Next up. Oh, I had fun with this game. Octopath Traveler 2. I did this in batches, and I remember, like, getting to experience every different story. Was really cool. That was a lot of fun. I think that one is in here. I have like 8,000 notebooks. Was that in this one? The Darun, Focalors, the Icons. This is Final Fantasy. Valisthea. You can see I have a book after notebook about all the different games I play. Aquabus Child. This was Genshin. That's Baldur's Gate. No, I guess it's not here. I don't know where that notebook is. But I had a big notebook about all the lore and all the different characters and how their stories connected. I had so much fun playing Octopath Traveler 2. That series, this studio within Square Enix that did Octopath Triangle Strategy last year, which I loved, and Octopath 2, is some peak Square Enix right now. The music is some of the best music I've listened to all year. And I loved the stories. Even like the dumber story, like the dancing story, the story of the dancer who wanted to make it as a superstar, loved it. The story of the merchant in the cowboy town who wanted to kill a capitalist on a train, wild. I started out with the story of the assassin, and her story was so dark right away, and it ended up with her fighting an immortal god who was also her dad? Sure. Those fighting, like, preventing the Blood Moon calamity of Tears of the King of Breath of the Wild with the Beast Tamer girl and collecting all those monsters was a lot of fun. I'm just running it back through my mind, all the different stories and adventures it had. Oswald and his... I remember Oswald's name very clearly. And his story of getting revenge for his murdered wife and murdered daughter, only to find out that it was his best friend, and he had to break out of prison, and his daughter wasn't dead, but was being kept, essentially, by his former best friend / traitor. So good. Octopath Traveler, easy S for me. Easy S tier. So good. I only did one stream, and I really enjoyed this next game. I'm gonna try and tackle it more in 2024. I know we got a lot of games coming out this year. I do want to get more into it. If you're watching the channel, you know I'm a big fan of MiHoYo. I'm a big fan of Genshin Impact. Genshin is later on this list. I tried out Honkai Star Rail. I enjoyed it. I thought the turn-based combat was good. I was starting to get into the system in the world, and from what I hear, I am not far from like where the game opens up more. And I am interested in seeing that. I'm probably going to go back and maybe replay on another account. Then hop back to my main account, which has all the... I pulled for like 2 or 3 characters. I can't invest anymore in MiHoYo. I invest too much money in Genshin. So I probably will not be doing that in Honkai. But I'll probably just be playing the game with the characters I get. So. And I know they're giving out a free character, so I might want to get back in time for that. So let's bring Honkai Star Rail. From what I experienced, I'm going to put it in B. I enjoyed it, but I am not at the point where I can open up more. I love the music. I love the character designs. It's very, very MiHoYo character designs. Next up was A Plague Tale. I did Plague Tale in... Was that in October? That was in August. That was in late August. That's after I got back from my trip. That's after I got back from my Europe vacation. I did Plague Tale. Sure, I think I beat it in like 2 days? 2 sittings? 3 sittings? Yeah. What a good game. Good, tight, dark storytelling about a sister protecting her special brother and understanding more about his unique situation while fighting off a plague of rats that swarm and devour everything. Dark, cool. That final battle against the Rat Pope. That's a weird sentence. Really fun game. Really cool. I know it came out years ago and I did not give it the recognition it deserves, so I'm going to go ahead and put this low A. No, I'm going to put it in top of B. Next up, a game I played off stream. This wasn't a game that I played much of, but I tried it out. I like thematic racing games. I love Diddy Kong Racing. I love Mario Kart. I do want to do a dedicated stream because I have Nintendo Switch Online now, so I do want to go play all the DLC from Mario Kart 8 at one point. But I tried Disney Speedstorm. I played it for a few days, maybe about like a week and a half every day to unlock different stuff. It's very microtransaction-y, battle passy. You have to unlock every character 10 times in order to permanently unlock them. It's weird. It's not a good-looking system. They should give you more. In terms of the actual gameplay, though, I didn't hate it. It's a solid theme racing game. You know? And it's with Disney characters. So, hey, you're Mulan, you're Gaston, you're Princess Jasmine. I think the only characters you get are, like, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and then everything else you have to unlock. Which is a lot. You have, like, 800 characters, and I'm not gonna do that. I'll put it NC, though. Solid game. You know. There you go. Next up, another game I played. This is another game I played off stream. I have not finished this yet, and I do want to get back into it. Lies of P. I think I might have done one stream on. I think I did one stream, and I played this casually. When it comes to Soulsborns, I did Elden Ring, and I've yet to do any others on stream. I've done a few other games in that series on my own time. There's some that I want to tackle. I like taking my time with them, and I need to grind and take time, so it's not the most interesting to stream my playthroughs because I'm very cautious. But the world set up in Lies of P, the weird puppet overarching thing of what is humanity, what is the soul. I love Pinocchio. I love Geppetto, the Blue Fairy, the world they set up. And as always in a Soul game, Soulsborne, the most important thing is enemy combat design. And some of the bosses that you fight in that game are utterly brutal and horrifying. It is really, it's a really cool world they set up. With this plague and this, these robots that can't lie, and you're unique in that you can, and this idea of deceit, this big theme. So it's a really cool game. Also, pretty solid music, beautiful atmospheric design, like top tier atmospheric design. I'm gonna put it in B. I'm gonna put it above One Piece Odyssey, below Plague Tale. That's, for me, a good spot. I don't feel it got enough recognition. Again, I have not finished the game, but I don't feel it got enough recognition at the Game Awards. I think that would be. Next, obviously, it's probably the biggest game I most frequently play on stream. I just want to check something. Make sure my sound is good. Good. The game I probably play the absolute most on stream is Genshin Impact. Genshin has had a big year. Obviously, not only did they finish off Sumeru, I'm trying to remember, this year in Genshin, they did all of that. Yeah, and this year in Genshin, they did the Desert of Hadramaveth. They did all the stuff with the Setek Wenu, and the what was it? The Tree of Dreams, the Vanlarana, all of that area, all the stuff with the little Perry. I'm blinking on their Sarush, and finding the entrance to the abyss in the sky and turning and resurrecting the giant tree, which still shimmers in the background and is gorgeous. The music in the desert was beautiful. And that was the start of the year. Obviously, the big change happened in August. Again, right after I got back. It actually dropped when I was overseas. And I played it the day I came back. Yeah, I came back on the 18th. I started up on the 19th. With Fontaine. The big 4.0 update with Fontaine. 4.1, 4.2, and we're in 4.3 right now. I have done multiple streams on all of them. The amount I have dived into the lore in these areas is so cool. I love lore, and I really dove into it. Fontaine has been a beautiful place for it. The story, the only thing I didn't love, I think, was Act 3 in the Fortress of Meripede. Aside from that, I've loved every update. 1 and 2 with Linny's trial and the child's trial were both super cool. And the serial killing, and this is the darkest Genshin's ever been. I'm playing the Fontaine music in the background right now because I think Fontaine's OST is the best we've ever had. I love the underwater gameplay, the just exploring underwater. Beautiful. I have an entire stream just dedicated to exploring and clearing stuff. The second expansion we got with the lake and the lock and the misty forest path and all of that was not important to the story at all. That was all just beautiful exploratory area. New overworld bosses, like not like actual bosses icons on the map, but like just random NPCs wandering around that kick your butt. Was really cool. Music, Farina, Nouvellette, great additions. Navia, awesome addition. Characters like Sijuin and Clorand, I'm very excited to play as. And the final story with the Flood and the truth behind Farina, and all of that made me tear up on stream. Go check that out. It was so good. Genshin has got to be an S for me this year. So far, it has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. Do I want to put it above Octopath? You know what? The thing for me this year, yeah. Next up is a series that is near and dear to my heart. My very first tattoo was of this series. I did a little mini series. I never finished it. I wanted to play as much Zelda as I could before this game was released. I got through Skyward Sword, and I got through Minish Cap, and I got through a good chunk of Ocarina of Time before this game came out. It is on my list to go back and continue that series. I was tempted to put Skyward Sword and Minish Cap and Ocarina of Time on here. I chose not to. Instead, I just put on Tears of the Kingdom. I do want to go back, though, and finish my entire playthrough of all of the Zelda games. So let's just talk Tears of the Kingdom. The story was awesome. The story with the draconification, the resurrection of Ganondorf, all this, turning the champions into sages, and getting to do it again in whatever order you wanted. Sidon the Sage. I loved Sidon's with the pollution of the Zora's domain. Riku with the endless sandstorm and the resurrection of the dead. And the fact that Gibdos have been brought back and they're being controlled a la insects by a Gibdo queen who is a giant undead moth. Zombie, so cool. I loved all of that. Tulin's story with the endless blizzard in the Rito territory, and making that the first dungeon with Kolgira, with flying and shooting through. Such a cool boss fight. Such a cool boss fight. I loved fighting Kolgira. Armored Goma was an alright boss fight with underneath the Goron city. Going underground to the depths was cool. I did not love the depths and exploring the depths. Once I, obviously looked up the vehicles that people were posting nonstop and like, hey, here's how to build a hover bike, the best thing in the game. Everything became so much easier, and the duplication glitches were a lot of fun because it got rid of what I felt was the worst part of the game, the grind. grinding for items, grinding for money to get stuff. I felt that that was boring. The duplication glitch made it better. Getting 999 diamonds and buying whatever, great. I didn't need anything else. Time to talk about the elephant. The fact that the map was largely the same. I know people were saying it's DLC. It really wasn't. It added a lot. I loved the entire Sky Islands. There's so much cool stuff up there. Obviously, the depths were fascinating to explore. A lot of new enemies were added. The Froxes, the giant frog enemies in the depths. The Gleeoks were really fun to fight. I understand that this is probably the direction Zelda is going to go. I still don't like weapon durability. I still think that's a bad system. I'd rather focus on getting some weapons and improving them. And getting items and using them as puzzles instead of getting powers and using them. But the music was great, the atmosphere was great, the world building was great, the overall plot was a lot of fun. I still am really bummed Zelda disappeared again. I didn't like that. I wish we had more. I want Link and Zelda together in a story. The whole point was we were separated in the first game, and I wanted to like rebuild and solve this problem together, and then she disappeared again, became a dragon, and then Ganon became a dragon. Really cool boss fight, really made use of the skydiving mechanic. Whatever. It's obviously an S tier. It's obviously going above these two. Do I put it above Genshin? No, I probably had more fun in Genshin this year. Yeah. Next up. Baldur's Gate 3. Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm a big D&D fan. I talk about it all the time. I talk about different D&D campaigns I've played. I talk about different characters I've played. I can literally reach directly right here, and here's the 4 sets of dice I have for 4 different characters in my dice tray. My Fire Red for my robotic Warforged Wildfire Druid. My really expensive from Misty Mountain Gaming Gray Stone dice for my GIF in the Astral Sea campaign I'm playing, who's a hippopotamus ranger gunner. These clear dice for a tiny human girl pirate who's playing a swashbuckler rogue battlemaster fighter, and it's all about mobility and commanding other people and repositioning. And this for an isekai campaign where I'm playing myself, and it's me and all of my friends who have been transported into a D&D world, and we're playing ourselves. And it has been the most ridiculous and funny campaign I've played. So I'm a big D&D fan. I'm actually writing multiple D&D campaign books that I plan on kickstarting. We have art being made right now. I'll talk more about that in the future. So I love D&D. I was not sold on Baldur's Gate until a number of people I trust said Baldur's Gate is the game of the year. Then I played Baldur's Gate, and I fell in love. I have started multiple characters. I've done multiple playthroughs. I have not continued my main playthrough on stream, which I do want to do, of my very first character. The sheer freedom. Larian Studios knocked it out of the park. I had never played Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, and I have them on Switch, and I want to go play them now. This should set a standard. It won't. This should set a standard in the industry. The music's phenomenal, the writing is phenomenal, the voice acting is phenomenal, the stories, the freedom you have in this game is so cool. It's Game of the Year. Watching it run away with games at the Game Awards, not shocking. It deserves it. It is a phenomenal game. Phenomenal. Yeah? Yeah. Next up. I got COVID this year, guys. It's a bummer. I got it back in...
I don't know that one.
Shut up! I'm not talking to my... voice... constantly monitoring voice assistant activated just now. So I got COVID, which was a bummer. So I was home for a week. I was not having a great time. It was not the most fun. but I did play some games, including the entirety of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And Super Mario Bros. Wonder was a lot of fun. In my opinion, it is the family game of the year. It was great. The animations were beautiful. It's the best 2D Mario has ever looked. The new powers were fun. The Wonder Seeds were wacky, and the gimmicks, like, I still laugh when I think about the singing Piranha Plants. It is a really cool game. I'm gonna enjoy watching speedrunners. I've seen a few be done. It's going in A for me, and I think it's gonna go right after Jedi Survivor. Because while I had a lot of fun with it, it didn't meet the scale of these. So I think that's the perfect place for it. Yeah? Alright. And it was just fun. And the fact that you could play as Mario and Luigi and Peach and Daisy and Toad and a different Toad and Yoshi and Nabbit was really cool. Next up was a game that I feel was vastly disrespected. It was nominated for so many games at the Game Awards, but was disrespected yet again, was Marvel Spider-Man 2. Let me say, it is not the perfect game, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I feel like splitting the game's focus between two characters was a decision, and I don't disagree with it, but I feel like the Miles storyline was weaker than the Peter storyline. So I feel like it was a little lopsided in that, with Peter dealing with the Kraven and the Harry and the Venom. Miles got better when he started dealing with Martin Lee and that aspect of the story. But his overall plotting and pacing I didn't love. Both their powers were a lot of fun. The playing as Venom aspect, I feel like this game, though, played it a little too safe. I had nothing but great things to say about it when I finished. I feel like, in retrospect, the game played it a little safe. Hey, good sir, how you doing tonight? So yes, I feel like the game played it safe, and the movement was a lot of fun. The addition of the gliding mechanic was great. The story with Venom and with the return of Yuri and the introduction of potentially Carnage was really cool. The lizard fights were a lot of fun. Kraven was awesome. I wish we got a little more with Kraven. Oh no, you're all good, bro. It's all good. I started not too long ago. It's all good. So these are the games I'm just going over every game I played this year and talking about what I thought about them. So right now I'm talking Spider-Man 2. The story with Harry was probably the best, and the story with the Venom, I think they did the Black Suit Saga very well. And Peter turning into Anti-Venom was really cool. Turning Mary Jane Watson into Scream was unexpected, but was actually awesome. And I didn't hate the 3 times we played as Mary Jane. I'm bummed they killed a lot of villains off stream. The Sandman fight was really cool, but again, that's right at the beginning of the game, and they didn't really have anything, I think, that met that scale. Seeing all the symbiotes take over the city, that was neat. But I feel like we didn't get enough proper resolution with the Hunters. Seeing Venom deal with Kraven was dope. I feel like we needed to see a little more catharsis in that moment. And I feel like they set up a lot. If they push it farther, they set up Goblin, they set up Carnage. There's a lot of places they can go. I think if they tie the storylines together, I think if they set up Carnage and do Green Goblin, we can end up with the Red King, which is such a cool storyline that I would love to see. But we know the ending of this trilogy has to be Green Goblin. They also set up Silk. So are we going to have 3 different Spider people? Because Peter's technically retired in this world. Miles is the main Spider-Man, and they introduced Silk at the very, very end of the game, or they teased Silk. So Spider-Man was great. I had a lot of fun. It was still a beautiful action game. The combat was very fluid. They didn't go far enough. So it's still going to be an S. It's still a top tier game, and I'm actually going to put it right there, in my opinion. It's still in my top games of the year. But I feel like that's where it belongs, you know? Next up. Oh, this is the first DLC that I have included on this list, and it was Pokemon, the Scarlet and Violet, the Teal Mask. Going to Kitakami was cool. I liked Kitakami as an area. I liked the characters that were introduced, Kieran, Carmine, and Ogerpon, and the Loyal Trio. Carmine really annoyed me at first, and Kieran was cute and kind of like awkward. I loved the switch. I started to like Carmine more and more as the DLC progressed, and liked Kieran less and less. I liked the story with Ogerpon and the Loyal Trio. I thought that was really good. And exploring Kitakami and getting to find all these Pokemon and getting new Pokemon like Diplin and who I called the Driplin, and the Blood Moon story with Perrin and the Blood Moon Calamity with Blood Moon Ursaluna. Awesome. So I'm going to put it in A at the bottom of A. I think that's where it belongs. You know what? No, I'm going to put it in B under Lies of P. Yeah. I feel like that's good. That's where it belongs. Yeah, I feel like that's where it belongs. That's solid. It was cool. It was fun to explore. It was fun to introduce all these new thoughts and ideas to Pokemon. Good. So that was the first 11 months of the year. Big RPGs. Genshin Impact was most of my year. Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy 16, Octopath, Jedi Survivor, Hogwarts Legacy, One Piece Odyssey, Lives of P, Pokemon Scarlet, Final Fantasy VII, Honkai, Forspoken. A lot of very big, very time-consuming RPGs. Then all of these games were this month. This is 1 month for me. And December was crazy. It was exhausting, which is why I haven't really streamed in the past 2 or 3 days. Because I hit a wall. I wanted to be streaming all this week, but I hit a wall, guys. I've been watching TV, I've been writing. That's all I need right now. I've been hanging out. I just need time to chill. But this was my 25 days of games miss. You may notice there's 27 games here. I'll explain it as we go. 28 games here? Whatever. But I'm going to go in order of the games I played for Games Miss and talk about them. Starting with my very first day of Games Miss, I did Sonic Superstars, the newest 2D Sonic game. Do I think it was as revolutionary to the 2D genre as Super Mario Bros. Wonder? No, I do not. Do I think it was a very good game? Yes, I do. Do I wish I picked a character other than Sonic because of that final fight? A little bit. I don't remember who I was talking to during it, but I was talking to one viewer during that who was saying everything you can do as Tails, you can hover over the final boss. As Knuckles, you could dive at the final boss. Amy's hammer, you could spam on the final boss. Sonic was the only character that was difficult to fight the final boss. I have gone back and played a little bit more of Sonic Superstars as... what is her name? One of the enemy characters that you get to play. Trip. I've gone back and played a little bit as Trip, and she has a fun style. But going like Supersonic was really cool. All the Emerald levels were really solid. The new power system, like the multiplication avatar power, the zapping around as a bullet was really cool. Vision, Water, Ivy. Slow was solid. Extra was alright. Yeah, it was mainly the avatar and the bullet powers were the most fun. But some of those worlds, like Cyber Station, where you had to go through it and then go through it again in reverse, that's a really cool idea. As time is rewinding, that's a really cool idea. Um, Cyber Station, Frozen Base, Egg Fortress obviously was dope. No, Egg Fortress is when you had to go back and forward as time rewound. The Sand Sanctuary I liked, Pinball Carnival, Sky Temple, Speed Jungle. I liked a lot of the levels. It was very well designed. Good music. Yeah. Enjoyable. Very much enjoyed it. Also, the music was great. And I like that it was a simpler, more classic story. I feel like it's the best classic Sonic story we've gotten in years. I think it was better than Mania. So let's put Sonic at the bottom of B. No. The bottom of A. Sorry, yeah. No. We're going to put it in B. We're going to put it right there. No, we're going to put it there. Next up was my second day. I did Endling Extinction is Forever, which was the beautiful story of a mother fox and her pups, and how you had to gather food for them, and you had to find your pup who was missing and was taken by a hunter. I befriended a badger. I moved through this polluted post-apocalyptic landscape that was just getting worse and worse as deforestation was happening more and more every day. And it was a beautiful, wordless story. Beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to put this in A. It is a tight story. You could beat it in one sitting. I think I did, right? My very first... What's around 2? Yeah, I beat it in about like 3.5, 4 hours, I think. Beautiful game, though. Would play again, 100%. Next up, I actually messed this order up a little bit. Let's go. Next up was another game I played off stream, was The Witness. I started to play it on stream, and it became very apparent very quickly. It was not the kind of streaming game for me. It was completely silent, and it was very chill, and I enjoy puzzles. This was not for me. I played it a little more off stream, and I've solved a few more puzzles. I wasn't about it. Maybe it gets a little better. Maybe I'll go back to it at another time. As of right now, I'm going to put The Witness in C. Yeah. Just not for me. Maybe a great game, maybe beloved by many. Not for me. Next up was, on the third day, I did, in lieu of The Witness, I did Abzu. From Supergiant? Giants, Supermassive? The guys who did Journey. Yeah. It was Abzu. The guys who did Pathless, yeah. Abzu. Very beautiful game. The underwater exploration. I have gone back and played this again, and I have actually platinumed it. Oh, no platinum. I've just 100%ed it. So I played through the entire game again, and it was just as fun. Exploring the depths and freeing more ecosystems and dealing with the shark, and riding through the jet streams and grabbing onto whales and riding turtles and giant squids and exploring this weird underwater world. A lot of fun. Beautiful game. Again, it's a kind of game you can knock out in 2 hours, and I did it for free, so it was absolutely worth it in my opinion. It was a good experience. So I'm going to put this in B. Because while it was beautiful and the music was beautiful and the visuals were beautiful, it didn't super solidify anything, you know? And I might go and rearrange all these at the end. Next up, a bit of a walking simulator. But I did this in a single sitting, too. And I've gone back and I have platinumed this game. The whole game, I started it at what? I started it at like 9 o'clock. Yeah, and finished it that morning. So I finished it at about 1 on the 5th. So it took me about 4 or 5 hours to platinum the game. But exploring the game and seeing the story of these characters and this descent into madness over this corrupting force that maybe would destroy the planet and infect people, and maybe that was real, maybe it wasn't. Was it the paranoia and insanity of one man, or was he right and was he saving the world by killing everyone, including a character that I really liked and wish she survived? Because we played the entire back of the game as her. Was it Jessica? The other character. Yeah. I started around like 8 o'clock. Yeah, I started around 8 o'clock and I beat the game around 11:30. So about 3 hours. And then 5 to platinum. All right. But I loved the setting. This abandoned facility in the crater of Mars. Great ambiance, great setting, good design. Wish you could run a little bit faster. You could walk slightly quickly, but you couldn't really run. I feel like that would have helped the game's pacing a little bit. Because there were a few slow bits, but that might have just been on me over-exploring. But it was a good story. It was a good, solid story. It's like a long movie. If you watch my stream, I don't think you need to play it, because you get everything from my stream, but there is more. So I'm going to put it in B. I am going to put it... Yeah, I'm going to put it right there. Great production value, too. Phenomenal production value. Next up was Sonic Forces. I played it as a lol. Guys, I knew it was a... Let me do this. I had fun playing Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces is not a great game. Infinite is a boring villain. And it had too many references to too many other worlds. The avatar system was ridiculous and weird. The game had so many glitchy bits, switching between 2D and 3D super speed, and 3D the avatar with the grappling hook was not great. They should have picked one system and refined it. But it was a funny game with bad dialogue, and it was cheesy fun. So I'm going to put it at the top of C. Bad game, but fun. Whereas Gotham Knights was a bad game, but not fun. So if you're a bad game and you're just funny and fun, knocks you up a whole category. Next up was Sable. Sable's in an interesting position for me. Sable started out dreadful. It was boring. I did not get it. I did not love the art style. I was talking to another chatter who was talking about Sable, saying it just looked incredibly boring. And yeah, when you're in, I think it's called the Ewer, when you're in the Ewer, it was boring. And it wasn't until I started gliding around on my ship, on my glider, meeting the chum, exploring all the monuments, like dealing with the wind tower and doing quests for people, that I started to get, oh, I see what this game is. This is not an action adventure game. This is not a thing. This is an exploration game. This is a game for explorers. This is a game for, I want to go around and I want to discover every fish that's hidden under the sand. They have sandfish. It's weird. I want to see, what is that weird tower in the distance? Oh, what's that giant mound guarded by a giant beetle? What is all of that? It is a game for that. It does not have a story as far as I can tell. It did not have a whole bunch to do as far as I can tell in terms of like character growth or character story or character writing. It is a game purely about exploration. So it's in a unique place. Because once I understood what it was meant to be, I liked it a lot more. You can go back and check out my stream. I was falling asleep in the first hour. But once I got it, I was up and attentive for the next 3. And I dug it. Let's put it at the very... I'm going to put it at the very bottom of B for that reason. Right? You know, let me rename all these. Hold on. This is my peak. This is peak of the game for the year. These are... Would play again. These are... Enjoyed the experience. This is... Yeah. And this is... Fart sound effect. So that's my ranking system. Peak, would play again, enjoyed the experience. Yeah. And Sable, once I got it, I enjoyed the experience. Next up. A game that is not for everyone. This one I did not stream on Twitch. When I was doing my 25 days of Games Miss, I was playing the games fairly late at night. Like, I was playing it at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Meaning I would not finish the game till like 1 a.m., so I couldn't post it on the same day I played it. And it just wasn't working. So I'm like, you know what? I need to sit down and record a game and post it a day ahead. So I always have the time to post the games on the day they're supposed to come out online. So I needed a buffer game. I had a free game. I think it might still be the free game that's offered for December for PlayStation Plus. And it is Power Wash Simulator. Did I play the regular game? No. Did I play the SpongeBob SquarePants DLC? No. Did I play the Back to the Future DLC? No. Would I play the Back to the Future DLC? Yes. The original Back to the Future is still my favorite movie of all time. I love that movie. So I actually might do that. I plan on watching it later tonight, even though I am not feeling well. I watch Back to the Future. It's kind of a New Year's tradition. We watch it all the time on New Year's. Like multiple years we've done this. So I might watch that tonight. But we did Power Wash Simulator because it's been a Final Fantasy year. Right here. Final Fantasy VII Intermission. Crisis Core Final Fantasy Reunion. Final Fantasy 16. Octopath Traveler is basically Final Fantasy. It's made by the same studio. Power Wash Simulator Final Fantasy VII. It was the Midgar update. It was a free update where we went around and cleaned the Cloud's bike and the escape car from inside Shinra Tower. We cleaned the giant scorpion boss, the very first boss in Final Fantasy VII Remake. We cleaned Seventh Heaven. Yeah. So those are the stages we cleared. And it was great. It was not the most exciting game. It is not a game that is meant to be exciting. It is a game you zone out and chill. And I could see myself just like, hey guys, I just need a break today. I'm just going to clean a car with a power washer. And from what I hear, I know someone who just did it on the MetaQuest, the VR goggles. Power washing VR is apparently amazing. So I'm going to put this, it should not go above any of those. I'm going to put it at the very bottom of B. I enjoyed the experience. It was great for what it was. It was not meant to be a fun game. It was meant to be a relaxing experience. And if you ever just want to turn off a part of your brain, that's the game for it. The rest of these require attention and like have stories and play through. This is, hey, I'm just gonna... Okay, what part do I need to clean now? That part? All right. Good. Next up, one of the more ridiculous games we played this year Hatoful Boyfriend. It is my first proper dating sim game. And it's about a human girl falling in love with little pigeon boys. And some of the pigeons are amazing. We did... Which pigeons did we do? We did Ryota, the childhood friend pigeon. And I've done several others. I think we did Oko-san, who is the jogging pigeon. Every pigeon had also a human portrait that came with it. It's like, oh, if they were a Japanese light novel protagonist, what would they look like? And Oko-san was just a pigeon in his human form. He was a human-pigeon hybrid. We also got our very first ending. We got the bad ending where we were killed by hawks. A hawk assassination team. This game was full of references, and it was just funny and dumb. Each playthrough took like half an hour. Was not long, right? The first one I did then. The second one... Yeah, it took me like 15 to 20 minutes per playthrough. And I could see myself there. I know there's like 14, 15 different endings. Going back and maybe doing a few more of those. It's, again, a game that's not as serious. So I'm putting it at the bottom of B. You know what? I'm actually going to put it above Sable, below Honkai. Yeah. Yeah. That's where it goes. This next game is a shame. It looked cool. It has an interesting, weird, animal punk design. Very Rocket Raccoon. Very action. Was not the game for me. I was bored out my gourd playing Biomutant. I don't know why. It was not the game for me. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. It was boring. I got 1% done in that game. It just was not the game for me. Maybe I'll try it in my free time down the line. I'm not streaming that game again. I liked the designs. I liked the animal cybernetic aesthetic. I feel like I didn't experience enough of the game to even give it a proper rating. You know what? No. Let's go on at the top of... right above Gotham Knights. Next up was Firewatch. Firewatch I have played before, and Firewatch I would play again. Firewatch is a walking sim. It takes 3 to 4 hours. If you see someone play it, you probably don't need to play it for a few years. I've played it twice. I played it once back in 2015, 2016, and I forgot everything about it. I feel like 7 years is a good gap to forget things, and replayed it like it was the first time, and it was so good. It's such a beautiful game. It's such a beautiful experience. And it was a tight, good, well-written story. I loved Firewatch. The music, the environment, the experience, it is what it is meant to be. Next, a game that I did not expect to like as much as I did, and I do have to finish it. This is one of the games on this list that I have not finished that I did during my Gamesmas. This was the 11th day of Gamesmas, and was the first game that I marked to continue on stream. It is a semi-2D, semi-3D, 16-bit, but like the backgrounds are higher resolution, weird, almost Octopath-esque cyberpunk action game with good comedy, great voice acting, cool style, awesome drip, Anna Mutationum. I am putting Anna Mutationum underneath Super Mario Wonder and above Sonic Superstars. I really enjoyed my time in that game. Maybe I'll play that tomorrow or the next day. I'll do more of that story because it was enjoyable. It was really good. I liked it. Music was cool. Environment was cool. Next up was a game I did finish. I only did half it. It was the 12th day of Gamesmas, and I've actually gone back, and a few days ago I finished the story mode and the epilogue story for Star Wars Battlefront 2. Obviously a game that came out back in 2017, 2018. The story was... I had issues with like some of the handling, and some of the BS enemy level design. But Iden Versio's story was generally good. Was it Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order good? No. Was it Clone Wars good? Absolutely not. Was it Force Awakens good? It was probably better than Force Awakens, honestly. Probably better than Last Jedi. Probably better than Rise of Skywalker. Seeing the story of Inferno Squad, loyalties being tested at the end of an empire was a really cool, really awesome setting. It's testing people's loyalties in a dark and dire situation, which is dope. Playing as certain characters for certain bits I did not love, like switching to Lando Calrissian. I didn't love his playstyle. Switching to Luke was a lot of fun, actually, because I really liked his playstyle. So Battlefront 2, we are going to put in, I enjoyed the experience. So it's going to be in the enjoy the experience range. So I'm going to put it... I'm actually going to put it above Fort Solis. Yeah. I feel like this is where the majority of games should be. In the average area. But it's Star Wars. I mean, of course, I think that video actually got is copyright and has like a certain area muted on my Twitch. So, meh. Because I mean, it's John Williams, so you know. At that point, you can't mute it. You just gotta accept what it is. Star Wars. I liked the acting. The acting for most of the characters was good. Hask was a pain. I didn't love the stuff with her father at the end of the game. I feel like that part of the story was a little weak, but the space combat was a lot of fun. Next up, on the 13th day of Gamesmas, I played Contrast, which was one of the very first PS4 games. It was a PS4 indie that was all about light and shadow, and your character could jump and meld with shadow and use it to solve all these weird 3D puzzles as you're jumping in and out. I only got stuck on one little bit in the pirate ship area. Aside from that, I cruised through most of the game. It was a cool story, a cool, tight experience. So I enjoyed the experience. I'm putting it right there, above Hodoful Boyfriend, underneath. You know what? I'm going to, again, I have not played enough Honkai. I'm going to put it above Honkai. Next up, from Annapurna and Supergiant, right? No, Private Division and Supergiant was Transistor, which is basically the proto-Hades. It was that top-down, tilted, roguelite, Twitch-based, quick gameplay where you're dying and you're losing powers, regaining powers. Very Binding of Isaac and pre-Hades Hades was Transistor. The idea of this singer without a voice and this talking sword that absorbs data and souls, and you're inside essentially a computer-driven city, and the more we used all these various and crazy powers in different ways, we learned more of the stories of the people in the city who were killed and whose bodies had been taken into this blade, or souls had been taken into the sword. And the failing of the people who did this, the failing of the people who made this collapse of the city, was really cool. Also, fire music. Fire setting, fire aesthetic design, beautiful looking game. I'm going to put it above you guys. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. Yeah, I'm going to start switching things around. Yeah. Next up, another underwater game that I played that I do want to continue on the 15th day of Gamesmas, Subnautica. I feel like we just started scratching the surface with Subnautica. The building, the gathering, the deep exploration, and I feel like I started exploring some wacky, wild areas, and from what I've seen in images, it looks like it only gets crazier and crazier as I start going into deeper areas. There's a lot that I don't love in this game in terms of the resource collection. I find that kind of tedious, as I mentioned back in my Zelda portion. But it's like a core mechanic of this game. You need to collect the stuff to build your base and to build supplies and to build vehicles. But I just recently unlocked a vehicle, so I feel like exploration is getting faster and faster and more. So I do want to continue that. So I'm going to put it... Did I have the greatest time? Not yet, but I feel like it's because I didn't explore enough. So I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it underneath Honkai, above... No. I'm going to put it underneath Crisis Core, above Contrast. Next up was a game I played on the Switch on the 16th day, Owlboy, a great side-scrolling RPG. Very funny. Really cool, really quick combat. The teleporting the allies around was neat. And I like the characters and I like the writing of it. So I'm going to give Owlboy a pretty good score. I'm going to put it here. Above Abzu, underneath the teal mask. Yeah. Next up was, on the 17th day, Carrion. Carrion was a weird experience. You are the Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. You are... There's no other monster that really... You're the Blob, I guess? There's no other real monster that fits what Carrion is. You are the monster in a monster movie, escaped from this lab, and you are eating people and growing and gaining more power and dividing yourself, and you are raw blood and flesh and teeth, and it was gross and nasty and cool. I'm gonna put it in I enjoyed the experience. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm actually gonna move Power Wash up. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's good. It didn't have the greatest... The music was solid. It wasn't... The design was cool. The concept really carried hard. And it was a cool concept and cool mechanics. And like being able to pick up enemies and slam them. It was brutally violent. And I know they did a Christmas DLC. And who knows, maybe I'll do the Christmas DLC next year. On my very next Gamesmas. This next game, 18th Day of Gamesmas, I feel like was not the greatest streaming game. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it because I like side-scrolling beat-em-ups. One of my favorite video games of all time is Scott Pilgrim, based on the award-winning comic and hysterical movie and top-tier anime that just dropped on Netflix. It is an anime. It was developed in Japan. It is mostly a Japanese studio. Screw you, fight me. So the new Scott Pilgrim anime on Netflix, highly recommended, especially if you have read the comics or watched the movie. It is a great companion piece to those. I would say watch the movie first, then watch the show, or read the comics, then watch the show. Chef's kiss. Great voice acting by the cast from the movie. Almost entirely. Great. But back to side-scrolling beat-em-ups. I feel like beat-em-ups are at the best when you do them with other players, with other people. So maybe I'll have a friend on and we can continue River City Girls. As a single-player experience, it was fine. I liked the soundtrack. I liked the characters, the two girls searching for their boyfriends. I like that it's building on the lore of previous classic SNES and Super Famicom games and There's these classic Double Dragon and all the references to old school fighters and beat 'em ups. It's good. I'm gonna put it. Yeah, right there. Put it in. I enjoyed the experience, and I will continue. I don't know if I'm going to continue to play it on stream because I feel like, again, it's better when you play with more people. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Another game I enjoyed because I like, again, I think I'm talking about all the games I liked from previous years. Some of my favorite games growing up were Paper Mario and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which is being remade in 2024, and I'm definitely going to stream that. And in the vein of those games, in the spirit of those games, is Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling, which I played on day 19. Bug Fables, it could use a little polish, but I love the spirit of the game. The RPG mechanics are tight. The quick reflex-based RPG turn-based mechanics, really cool. The quick swap of the characters was neat, and I like the setting. I like the paper aesthetic, and the setting was really well designed. So I'm gonna put this. I feel like there's a lot of great games in here. I definitely got to rearrange some of these. I feel like, though, it's for now, it's going to go right there. Next up, Platinum Games designing an action game of their very own. It is over the top, it is wacky, it is wild, it is Astral Chain. This was day 20. And it was insane. Astral Chain was weird, was cool. The hyper techno fascist police state aesthetic is an interesting idea, and using chained interdimensional demon cyborgs as your weapons and fighting alongside them and wrapping enemies in chains to bind them was a really cool aesthetic. I am definitely going to play more of this on stream. Put it right there. I'm putting it under Lies of P above Battlefront. I'm actually going to switch those, switch those, switch those, switch those. Switch that. Switch that. That looks good. No. I'm going to put Transistor underneath Crisis Core above Honkai because, again, I haven't experienced enough Honkai. Yeah. Good. Next up, a game that I did not expect to love as much as I did. It's sitting right here, right next to me. And I have to do 7 more streams of it, minimum. It is Live Alive. Every game set in a different era. We played in the Twilight era of Edo, Japan, where we played as a ninja trying to rescue a member of his... a member who will help overthrow the Empire and end the Edo period. And the gameplay, the stealth mechanics, the combat. Once I grinded up, it was a difficult game. Once I grinded up a few of those spirits, we cruised through that. But I loved the grid-based combat, and I am very curious to see how the other settings are not only going to play with the mechanics, but also how they're going to tie into the greater story. Is that in here? I feel like I don't even remember what. Oboromaru of the Enma clan. And, like, remembering the codes and fighting all those different bosses, like the puppet and the woman who manipulates souls, and it was cool. It was a really cool setting, and I want to see more of that. I'm actually putting that right there. In would play again, because I'm going to continue to play that game. And it's just my kind of game. It's not for everyone, I get that, with the old school aesthetic, but it's a remake of a classic Super Famicom game. Next up was a game I actually finished off stream yesterday. Vampire. Vampire was day 22. If you're looking for a morality-driven action game, Vampire's a real cool time, set in early 1900s London during the Spanish influenza epidemic. There is a secondary epidemic going on as a vampire plague is turning people into low-level mutant vampires called Skulls. And you are Jonathan Reed, a newly turned vampire, turned for some greater purpose by a being you do not know, accidentally kill your sister, and are caught in a war between a vampire hunting human order and an underground society of, a hidden society of vampires, and whatever's causing this mysterious vampire epidemic. So 3 forces, and you're caught in the middle of it, but you're a doctor, so you're trying to find a cure for it. And some of the dilemmas I came to, like how to deal with the fate of certain people, that was mostly off stream. Like I had to deal with the fate of a nurse who was running an underground clinic and stealing supplies from the hospital we worked at, which endangered people. I had to deal with a newly turned vampire clergyman who couldn't control his own hunger, but was secretly like protecting a hidden vampire sect, and it was really cool. A billionaire who feared death and wanted to turn into a vampire, and was basically like, hey, let's put up a wall to keep the sick and the poor separate from the rich so we don't get sick at all, and like we'll just trap them in a prison of their own death and making. I'm like, oh, well, our best friend, a vampire hunter, we had the option to turn a vampire hunter into a vampire, and it started to get into weird spots towards the end with dealing like a god of blood. It was a dope thing. So I like that moralistic side of it. Again, I did most of this off stream, but it was a good experience. And if you're interested, if you're curious about that, watch my first bit, see if you like it. It's just more of that. So I'm gonna put it in. I enjoyed the experience. I think Fort Solis needs to be lower. Absu needs to be lower. Because of the tightness. No, it's still... Yeah. Alright, next up. Celeste. A beautiful... It's a climbing game, a side-scrolling climber, literally climbing a mountain, dealing with these heavy themes of loss and guilt and shame and mental health that I heard like talk was in the game, but I did not expect to be as impactful as it was. We are halfway up the mountain. This was day 23, so we were pretty far into it at this point. Loved it. I loved Celeste. It is beautiful. I can't wait to finish it. The music was cool. The gameplay was good. The environment was great. That's all I can say about it. It was a good experience. Next up was Trek to Yomi, Day 24. A classic samurai tale set in a very Kurosawa style of a samurai seeking revenge for his master and slain friends and family, who was killed and sent to hell, but is getting a chance to the afterlife, to Yomi, and has gotten a chance to return to the world of living and put an end to the reign of terror of this person. I'm going to put it there in enjoyed the experience. I am going to continue it. We are halfway through that game. We got to do one more stream to finish that off. We just got back from the afterlife. That was where we ended, setting the premise. So the entire beginning of the game was us as a child, us attacking this group, us trying to defend our family, and then exploring the underworld. And it was really cool. Next up, a game I'm absolutely continuing. I am very early into the game. I finished the first of 7 chapters. Alan Wake. The remastered version of Alan Wake, and I'm finally going to do Alan Wake 2 eventually. But Alan Wake is very high on my list of games to continue. I really like the setup. So for now, I'm going to put it right there. It's probably going to be higher when I do this exact same thing next year. But for now, it's right here, and I enjoyed the experience. It is a cool setting. The insane psychological aspect of Remedy's games is always fascinating to me. I loved Control. So I can't wait to experience more of Alan Wake. Next up, a game that was recommended to me by chat. I think it was Twitch Gurkha, who's been in many of my Games comments. Outer Wilds. A drifting space, I'd almost say roguelike, because it's all about like time resetting and learning from your mistakes and building more and rushing to solve things each and every time. And I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna play more of it. Was it my absolute peak of the year? No, but I feel like, again, I'm very early into the game, so I want to experience more of it before I make a final determination. It will be on next year's list because today is the 31st. So I will be continuing it technically in 2024, so it will be on my 2024 list as well. So let's put it high up in B. I'm going to put it, just for now, above Abzu, below Battlefront 2. But I feel like it might go up once I get to experience more of it. The very natural sounds, combined with the music and the importance of music in the bringing of people together and finding people that are playing that music. I feel like I still don't know enough about it, but I really enjoy the art style. I really enjoy the appearance of Outer Wilds, and the drifting spaciness of it is a lot of fun. My last one was the Indigo Disc DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I kept Teal Mask and Indigo Disc separate, even though they are two halves of the same story. Teal Mask does a lot to set up Indigo Disc. I feel like Indigo Disc had a stronger story than Teal Mask, less personal, with the interplay between Kieran Carmine and Ogerpon in Teal Mask. But this was a friend, a rival and friend who has fallen, and almost to madness, one would say, and it dealt with themes of obsession, both on his part and the part of the Professor Briar, and my personal obsession with catching every Pokemon and completing that damn Pokedex. And there's obviously a few other, I still gotta go hunt down legendaries, which I've done a little off stream, and I actually hear now that they are adding more to the epilogue. They are going to release free DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet after you play Indigo Disc. They've also redone a lot of the tournament stuff. And apparently Gita is actually useful now. So I enjoyed this. It's going to go above Teal Mask. I'm actually going to knock Teal Mask down 2 and put this at the bottom of Woodplay again. So there, I think that's it. There's my games for the year. Let's do a little restructuring. All right, let's start at the bottom. Gotham Knights and Biomutant are in fart sound effect. I'm actually going to put Gotham Knights above Biomutants because I at least enjoy the story of Gotham Knights. Biomutants, not for me. If it's for you, if it's peak for you, awesome. More power to you, just not for me. The Witness, again, I like puzzles. I'm actually going to put it there. Not for me. Again, it's just a game that I didn't hit on all cylinders for me. I'm actually, you know what? Seeing these next year, I'm going to put Gotham Knights at the bottom of, yeah. Not a good game. Would not recommend it. Yeah, it happened. It had a good story, at least. It had parts of it were a good story. I liked the relationship between the different Bat family members. Disney Speedstorm. I'm actually going to... Forspoken's movement was great, and the magic, once you got into the magic and combat system, was really good. I'm still going to put Sonic Forces above it because it was funnier. It was funny bad. Enjoyed the experience. Sable. Yep. Good. No. Good. Alan Wake above. You know, maybe Alan Wake will be higher once I continue it more. Yeah. No, I really like the story of One Piece. All right, Teal Mask, Lies of P, Final Fantasy VII Intermission. Oh, thank you. Vampire, Astral Chain. Switch Vampire and Astral Chain because I really like the Vampire story. I like Astral Chain setting. Move that there. Plague Tale, I think, was better than Vampire. Very similar settings. Plague Tale and Vampire. Just different plagues. This was a vampire epidemic in the 1900s. This was like 1600s during the Black Plague. Indigo Disc Celeste, Live Alive, Firewatch, Endling. I'm going to do Endling there. Actually, I'm going to move Sonic Superstars down. Yeah. I feel like I put Live Alive too high because I haven't experienced a lot of it yet. I'm just going to rename this to Real Good. Peak, Real Good. Enjoyed the experience. Yeah. Okay. I also heard there might be Hogwarts Legacy DLC on the horizon. I don't know if that's true because I don't believe it's been confirmed. I can actually double check right here. Let's check. Hogwarts Legacy DLC. All rumors. All rumors. As of... check news. Dextero about a month ago. They could be announced, so there have been no official plans. Okay. I'm very excited for the next installation of whatever the Jedi games are. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 more years before we see that. My peak games. I'm fine with... I'm fine with, yeah. Enjoyed the experience. Might need to shift a little bit, but overall I like it. Real good, I think, is a real good list. You know what? I'm actually going to move Endling to the end. I loved Firewatch's experience, though. I'm going to switch Celeste. Yeah. Now, peak. Baldur's Gate is peak for me. Baldur's Gate's phenomenal. It was my game of the year. I loved it. Genshin, I don't feel like I can do anything else aside from I've played every update, I've played every event. I really, really enjoy Genshin. It's great. I've been playing the music in the background of this stream. It's so good. I have added Farina and Neuvillette in permanent rotation to different teams. I play them both all the time now. They're really good. I do a little bit with Navia. And I don't really use Lady Lynette, Fremine, or Charlotte, or Risley. It's mainly Navia, Farina, and Neuvillette. Tears of the Kingdom, I loved. I spent so much time in Tears of the Kingdom exploring. It was a good game, and I liked the characters, and I love the world, and I love Zelda, and I want it to be a little better. Yeah. Spidey was great. Loved Spidey. Feel like they need to push the envelope a little bit more. They can go farther. It was a short, concise experience, and we did it in, what, 5, 6 streams? 6, 7 streams? I feel like they didn't push the envelope. They played it safe. They need to go harder in the next game. And I feel like they also just have bad timing. Because when the first Spider-Man released, it released at the same time as Breath of the Wild, God of War Ragnarok, and Red Dead Redemption 2. And this one released at the same time as Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake 2, Final Fantasy 16. It was a stacked year. I feel like if they just pushed the envelope, it was a great superhero game. And I feel like it was an improvement over the first one, but they didn't make enough leaps and swings forward. Final Fantasy 16 was great. Octopath Traveler 2 was great. I'm actually going to do that. Yes. I feel like this is good. I feel like this... thank you. Yeah, it is fantastic, right? You enjoying it? I gotta finish it. I gotta finish my main playthrough, at least. So I think this is where I am. In the upcoming days, I might do... I'm definitely gonna do more Animutationum. I'm going to do more Live Alive. And I'm going to do more Alan Wake. I did that. I think that was last year. I did all of the Life is Strange's. I really loved it. The first Life is Strange is beautiful. It's still one of the best games I think I've ever played, the very first Life is Strange. I also really enjoyed the third one, True Colors. That was a lot of fun, though. I think, right, that was 2022 for me. Yeah, I think that, I'll double check. Let me double check my, Oh, no, all good. Yeah, Life is Strange I did back in August of last year. Then I did Life is Strange Before the Storm in August of last year. Life is Strange 2 and True Colors in September. Oh, thank you. I always appreciate that. You're the best. Yes, you were. Yeah. Oh man, that was good. I did Little Nightmares. I did Outlast. I did Alien Isolation. That was during my Halloween. Callisto Protocol. That was a good time. I did Stray around then. Digimon Survive, which I never finished. Sonic Frontiers has DLC that I never did. God of War Ragnarok has DLC that I haven't done. So many games now. We are at the apex of gaming. I think this was a great year for me in terms of games. And it was intense, I will say. The 25 Days of Gamesmas. And I think next year, in 2022 and 2021, I did a Halloween, where I did a lot of horror games in October. And the 25 Days of Gamesmas, experiencing 25 games in 25 days, was a treat. It was a real trip. So I think maybe next year, I want to try and have more special events. I want to try and do something in the spring. I want to do Halloween. And I want to do my 25 Days of Gamesmas. I want to continue this trend because this was absolutely worthwhile. Hopefully there's going to be a lot more smaller games for me releasing. There's constantly games, so there's always going to be more games to play. I have a buttload of just... Let me see some games that I have that I might want to play. Let's go to my collection, right? What are some games on here that I might want to play on stream in the coming year? Obviously, things on my list right now. Here we go. I want to do the Final Fantasy 16 DLC, 1 and 2. The God of War Ragnarok DLC for Valhalla. I want to continue. Obviously, I'm going to continue doing Genshin. I'm probably going to do more Outer Wilds. More Alan Wake. More Trek to Yomi. Anna Mutationum. Not gonna do any of you. More Baldur's Gate. I gotta finish Baldur's Gate 3. My playthrough of that. You know what? I think I'm gonna add on here One Piece Odyssey DLC. Final Fantasy Rebirth is coming out this year. I think I'm gonna do a Plague Tale 2. Plague Tale Requiem. What is some other? Death's Door. Jurassic Park Evolution. Code Vein. Ollie Ollie World. You know what? I'm going to put Chia on the list. I really wanted to play to Chia. I'm going to put Code Vein on here. I'm going to put... Which one are you? No. I'm going to put Sky on here, because I want to do Sky. Tome. Life is Strange, Cult of the Lamb, Stray, Quarry, Yakuza Like a Dragon. What are some cool games? Maybe doing all the Naruto Ninja Storm games? That could be fun. I have the first 4 of them for free, sitting in my library. Slay the Spire, Hood. Man. Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 Royal. Oh, they're re-releasing Persona 3, though. So I'm going to put P5 Royal and Persona 3 on here. God, I have so friggin' many games. Metro Exodus. Maybe I'll replay Gravity Rush. I always loved Gravity Rush. There's so many games that I own. Remnant, Greedfall. You know what? I never did the 2nd and 3rd Tomb Raider games. Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So maybe I can do all 3 of those as like a series. Happy New Year, LaBelle. How you doing? Yeah, we're actually wrapping up. It's been a good. We were just talking, going over a year in review. A lot of games this year. 40. Let's quickly help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47 games this year. Just putting the face on. All good. You getting ready to go out and have fun? Yeah, it was a good year for gaming for me. And a lot of good, mostly good games. Everything in the first 3 categories, I really enjoyed. And then I kind of enjoyed some of the things in the 4th category. And I'm just thinking, what can I play in the year? Oh, you're getting ready to stream? Oh, dope. I'll hop on. Maybe I'll hop on there because I'm getting ready to wrap up soon. So maybe I'll hop up on there in a little bit. Sayonara Wild Hearts. I'm just thinking about what kind of games I can play in the new year. What are some... I know I have an extension on my new Opera GX for all my gaming news. Let's go to this and check to see some of the upcoming games we got going on. Oh, the happiest of New Year's. What else is coming out? Portal. Crystal Story. Which one was that? Hades 2 is coming out this year. Prince of Persia is coming out in January. I definitely want to play that. So Prince of Persia, the new Prince of Persia game is coming out in January. That's on the list. Last of Us Part 2 remastered. A new Apollo Justice? I love the Ace Attorney games. So that's coming out late January. Tekken 8. Like a Dragon. Ichiban. Is there a One Punch Man game coming out at the end of January? Oh man, there's just... It's too dang much. Let's just put up PlayStation and Switch for now. Tekken 8. Again, I'm not very good at fighting games. Why is this going so slow? All right, we got the Princess Peach game coming out in March. Ronin coming out in March on the exact same day. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, obviously. Here you go, February. Granblue. Jujutsu, the Jujutsu Kaisen game and Persona 3 are coming out on the same day as the self-termination squad game that doesn't look great. I didn't love the JJK game. I got to try it at Comic-Con this year. I thought it was solid. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the end of February. And I have the collector's edition of that on order. I'm very excited. Come on, you piece of junk. All right, Ronin. Peach. Those are both coming out in March. And I think that's all we have. We know, though, they are going to be releasing some other games that are near the top for me. Pal World, which is Pokemon with guns. Nightingale, which is like an interdimensional explorer game. Hopefully Fables, then another, oh god, why am I blanking? It was the Big Bad Wolf game. It was done by Telltale. So yeah, we don't have a shortage of games. Let me do that so I can see the chat. There we go. Let's go to... Oh, we have Thousand Year Door coming out this year. A Thousand Year Door remake, right? Like Prince of Persia. Oh, another code is coming out in January, which is Trace Memory, is what it was called here. Which I played like when it first. They're the entire Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy is coming to the Switch. I will get that. I love the Ace Attorney games. The remastering Tomb Raider 1 through 3. The original Tomb Raider is not the ones I want to play. Shiren the Wanderer. Unicorn Overlord is in March. Oh, yes. That was from Vanillaware. So that's definitely a game on Princess Peach Showtime is also at the end of March. Yuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes, where there are 100 different playable characters inspired by Suikoden. Tales of Kenzara, who we saw, the actor who played Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins, helped design this game. Or is he... Founding, he says the actor and performer. Okay. Tales of Kenzara. They're re-releasing Braid. Hollow Knight Silksong should be playable. I still haven't done Hollow Knight. Maybe this is the year I finally buckle down and do Hollow Knight, my namesake. Or maybe they're named after me. Planet of Lana. Launched early this year on Xbox, and it should be coming to Switch. Ooh, that could be good. That could be good. Planet of Lana. Contra. a re-release of Shantae Risky's Revolution. I'm a big fan of the Shantae games. Luigi's Mansion 2, that's right. I wonder if they're going to finally do more GameCube games. Deca Police. It's looking real good this year. Suikoden, Inkaladi. No, still no rumors about Metroid Prime 4. New Professor Layton game. Alright. So all in all, we have a buttload of games coming out in 2024. I'm not going to be hurting for games to play. I am going to be taking on a bunch in the next month. Probably continuing and trying to finish the games I started during my 25 Days of Games Miss. So in the coming days, I'm probably going to do Anna Mutationum, Alan Wake, and Live Alive. I'm also going to be trying to do Final Fantasy XVI's DLC, more Baldur's Gate, and that's going to be a good chunk of my January, probably leading up to Prince of Persia's release. February, we're going to try. We'll probably do Trek to Yomi, Outer Wilds, and the God of War DLC, and build up to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And then we'll just be doing a bunch of other small games in March, leading up to Persona 3, JJK, and Princess Peach, and Unicorn Overlord. Some of them we might play in April, May, June, July. We'll get to them when we get to them. But I have a bunch of other games on my PlayStation Plus that I have never done, and I've wanted to. I have a wall of games, most of which I've played, many of which I have not. Some good, some poorly reviewed, but I want to try to do some big gaming events this year. So I'm going to brainstorm an event to do in the spring. Summer is probably going to be just a summer of gaming. In fall of this year, I'm going to do Halloween and see the return of that, which is just a week of horror games. And then next December will be the return of Gamesmas, because this was a fun experiment. It was draining, and I need to have it a little better planned next year. Like I need to have something pre-recorded in November to post on the 1st, so I can always have something posted and I don't have to rush through the content. And I need to make sure I'm a little better rested, because I was half asleep for some of these games. All right. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to call it. This was a lot of fun, a good look back at what I've done this year, and I'm like, it was a good year for games. I really had a good time. So tell me what games you enjoyed. You can post those in the comments on the YouTube channel, but I think that for now is where I'm going to call it. We only got about an hour left before the ball drops for me, before it is officially New Year's here on the East Coast. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. That is all for this thing that I'm doing. Take care of yourself. Happy New Year. Good seeing you. And until next time, stay awesome.